How are you?
Fine, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm fine.
Good afternoon. My name is Ishani, and today we will be talking a little bit about your understanding in Tableau. But before
Sure,
that, can you
ma'am.
give me a brief introduction of yourself, Google?
I'm from Tamil Nadu, ma'am. I have completed BTech in Petroleum Engineering and I have done my MBA in HR and Marketing. I have worked for a while in a real-time drilling operations company in Kochi.
Okay.
And there I used to work in a real-time analytics, like monitoring the data of drilling and circulation and something like that. So
All
we
right.
used to provide service to the companies like Chevron, Schlumberger,
Mm-hmm.
Halliburton.
All
Then,
right.
due to an injury, I took a break, and now I pursued data science, and I'm looking for a job.
All right. So, what made you pursue data science? Like the data was very fascinating while drilling.
Yes, ma'am. It was actually fascinating because there we created a small project like Atom, custom made automatic field monitoring process like a project. It worked, but I can give ideas, but at the time I couldn't figure out what was actually happening behind the process. I
All right.
gave an idea, but I'm not sure how to make it work. So I thought at the time I found it also interesting. So I Googled about it and came to know the data science was behind these and many other things. So I thought I would take it into my hand.
Very good. Good, good. So this interview that we are going to have is it is again data that we're talking about, but not predictions. We're going to talk about the visualization portion of it,
Sure, ma'am.
right? And as you're aware, Tableau is one of the market leaders
Yes,
in
ma'am.
this particular industry. All right. So let's start with the first question. If you could explain me that what type of joins are used in blending? There's a concept of blending in Tableau. So what
Yes,
type of joins do blending use?
in blending, the default is left join in blending.
Default is left join.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely correct. All right. And do you understand what is hierarchy?
Yes, ma'am. Hierarchy. We used to categorize like we used to put in group them into a single club. We used to club the dimensions into a single thing in a hierarchical order.
All right. And why do you think we would do something like that? Like, what is the purpose of putting the different dimensions into one hierarchy?
We may have some related dimensions like can I say some with the examples, ma'am?
Sure.
Like sometimes we used to have a region, state, and a city. At the
Mm-hmm.
time, we can club them into a single thing with the use of hierarchy, and we can use to display it visually more appealing and easily relatable to the audience.
All
So at the
right.
time, we use hierarchy.
Plus, I think drilling down the data becomes
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah.
easier when you
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
hierarchy. Drilling becomes easier. Okay. Have you worked in the analytics tab in Tableau? Like there's a data tab and there's an analytics tab.
Yes, ma'am. I have worked on it to find the correlations and to find the clubbing process and the grouping process and to
Okay.
for analysis. I worked on that part.
So since you're talking about clubbing and grouping and you're talking about correlation, so can you explain me what clustering is all about?
Clustering is grouping the data of a similar kind into a particular cluster. Like with some example means we used to correlate some data
Mm-hmm.
with two measures. We used to correlate some data and to find relation. At the time, we can cluster those data and find the similarities between them. So it is used to find the similarities and group them.
To find the similar group of similar data. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So is it like Tableau decide how many clusters it can make, or even you can tell how many clusters you're looking for?
While the time of creation itself, it shows how many clusters will be created. Like it will create automatically, ma'am.
It creates automatically. All right. Um, let's say if you have multiple data sets, right? It may be in the same workbook or it may be same different sources of data, and we want to work on those data sets and create visualization. Like we want to put them all the data together and do the visualization. So what kind of techniques can we use to merge these data sets?
What is the actual purpose for doing this, ma'am? Because based on that, we can do blending from different workbooks.
All
We
right. So
can use
blending would
joins
be joins, correct? And what
and
else?
union to kind.
Perfect. Perfect. So you can combine the data sources depending on the need, like you rightly
Yes,
said.
yes,
It would depend on the need that we will do a join or a union. So can you
yes.
explain me what is the difference between a join and a union?
Join is usually it's automatically happen. In previous Tableau version, we have to make a specific custom made design to get it into a specific join. But now
Mm-hmm.
Tableau has evolved and they made it easy to the users to automatically get the left join by
Okay.
default, and we can also change the join. By union, we are placing we are concatenating or something like that. We are stacking the data sets at one at the top and one at the bottom, like
Okay.
placing union.
Can we talk in terms of how we are merging in terms of rows and columns? Like, is join merging the data on a row level or a column level? And is union, what is union, difference between union and join when it
Union,
talks?
it makes visible in a single sheet. It adds the two tables into a single table. In join, it is actually happening behind the process, but we can use it in the sheets to make the view visible.
Okay. All right. Um, have you heard about or have you used sets?
Yes, ma'am, I used it.
Can you tell me what are sets? Why they're
Based on
used?
based on certain conditions, we used to filter those data. It is used like for filtering process or something like that. We can use it for like we can group the data like based on certain conditions, like top 10 customers who are meeting the condition of sales above 10,000 or
Okay.
$10,000 or something like that. We can use to create sets, and we can distinguish them. With the use of multiple sets, we can also create combined sets. In that, we can perform different type of operations.
Okay, so let me elaborate a little bit more on this thing. So when you talk about sets, you said it helps us to group the data, to analyze the data, right? What are we grouping? Are we grouping based on dimension? We are grouping based on measures. What are we
We are
doing?
dimension.
Dimension. So no measures are involved when we create sets.
Yes, ma'am, it's involved. We are using the measures as values, but we are actually creating the sets with the use of dimensions.
We are
The,
creating a sets on dimensions, but we are using
yes,
measures.
yes, ma'am.
Can I have more than one measures based on which I can create a set? I can.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can.
All right. And what about parameters? Parameters is a very good
Yes,
feature
ma'am.
of Tableau. I personally really like parameters. So
Yes,
what are parameters?
parameters are usually gives the user to visualize the data more easily and their preferable way. Like we can create a parameters to sort the data. We can have multiple measures in the same data in the
Mm-hmm.
same view, and we can with the help of parameters we can sort it out, sort by quantity or by price or something else, whichever measure which we are used in the view. It is similar to kind of filter map. It's a filtering process. It can be used for filtering process mainly
Okay.
parameters.
All right. Let's say if I wanted to analyze age. Okay, if there's
Okay.
a measure called age, if there's a field called age, and I would like to run my analysis on age, what would you do in Tableau to, do a useful analysis to this measure?
I would use bins now. Bins is the best option to make the measure values to dimensions, because we can divide. We can create slabs like from 0 to 10 particular
Hmm.
age and 10 to 20. Likewise, we can create different slabs and we can get the values and views with the help of bins.
With the help of bins. Can I bins dimension?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I do binning on dimensions? Or is it only for
Yes, ma'am.
measures that I can do binning?
Um, it's mainly used in measures. I'm not sure whether it can be used in dimensions, but I haven't used much.
No, not used in dimensions. It's only for measures.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. And if I want to, not exactly binning. Binning is basically in numbers, you're making intervals.
Okay,
But if I want to group the items of a dimension, like for example, let's
okay,
take I have operations in many part of India, and where there are various cities which are there, and I want to group certain cities in, let's say, call it region 1. I want to group another set of cities, call it region 2. So what can I do in that case? Like if this is a scenario, I want my visualization. I've been given city data, city wise data. I don't have anything called region defined in my data set, and I want to show it on my visualization as a region, where region 1 would have predefined number of, like, say, cities, like, say, Delhi is there, and Chandigarh is there, things like that. So in which feature of Tableau would you use?
We can use it by grouping, ma'am.
Grouping.
Yeah.
Correct. You would use grouping over there. All right. So there are various types of, when you're working in the sheet portion of Tableau, they are filter area. There is something called a marks card. In marks card, there is a specific card called color card,
Yes.
right? So can you explain me why, or what is the use of a color card?
And the color card is basically used to differentiate the categories within a field, because a field can have multiple categories. Like, can I say with some examples, ma'am? Like, in the sales of stationery items, we can get like books, papers, and pens, and some other type. There are multiple categories. We can show the viewers or users with the differentiation, like with the use of colors, we can differentiate how much sales has happened with the uh, stationery, and with the books, and with the year graph, like that. We can show them. We can. It's basically used to differentiate.
It is used for differentiation. All right. Do you think colors are important, or
Yes,
they
it
are?
is used to make it visually easy to understand and interpretable. So it is not. It has main importance in the visualization part only. It doesn't.
Visually it becomes
Yes,
appealing
visual.
and easy to
Yes,
understand. All
yes.
right. Okay. So I wanted to ask you that if this is the data set that I have, in which I have got the region, the state, and then I've got a male literacy rate and a female literacy rate, I want to create a view where I can pick one state. Let's say I pick Delhi, and in Delhi I want to get a pie chart which shows me what is the percentage of male and female in terms of literacy. How would you proceed on that?
In Tableau, we can't use this kind of data to visually present those the thing you asked, man, because it in Tableau usually use to like gender, male and female. If we
Okay.
have it in a single column, we can use it in Tableau to present. For that, we have to, in the data source, we have to merge those two columns into a single column.
And how do we, what tool of pivot Tableau will you use for it?
Uh, I'm not sure about the exact word.
So just tell me the
I
process. Just tell me the process. If you don't remember the terminology, that's fine. So what is the process that you do?
We used to select those column, and we have
Okay.
used convert it to a single column, and then we use it in view.
Then you
Then we
can use
used
in
to,
the view.
yeah.
Right. It's called pivot.
Yes, sorry.
So your process is clear. You know what you're doing, but you forgot the
Yes, ma'am.
terminology. That's fine. That's fine. It's called pivoting. So you are absolutely correct. In a Tableau, if your headers are given, which are supposed to be in one column, I will not be able to put it in a pie chart. So I need to
Yes,
first convert into a single column of male and female and one column of literacy rate. Then
yes,
I will
yes.
be able to create a pie chart out of it. Good, good, good. Okay, now let's say so this pivoting is one way of preparing the data, right? Is there any other tool in Tableau that you know of which helps me to, clean up the data, prepare the data for my actual analysis?
There is a tool named data interpreter at the data source page, ma'am. It can
Absolutely.
be used to clean the data, to remove the null values and the blank rows, and it
Mm-hmm.
used to prep the data. It is automatically, it does in seconds, so it can be used to clean up the data. It is
Clean up
useful.
the data sets. Good, good. All right. In the beginning, when we started, I asked you about blending and what kind of, join is there in blending. But can you explain me why? Because what I understand and what you said, that blending and joining is joining at the end of the day. In joins, you have various
Yes, ma'am.
type of joins, but blending is only left join. But can you explain me when should I blend the data versus join the data? Like when should I use blending
Uh,
basically?
when the level of details are not equal or it's different, when the level of details are different, we have to use blending, ma'am,
Can
because
you
we
give me an
can't.
example? Can you give me an example of the
Yes,
two tables where we can explain the level of detail?
Because in the two table a table may contain a category and the other table may not contain a category, but it contains a subcategory. At that time the level of detailing is different, but they are relatable. So at that
Mhm.
time we can use blending to visually present the data.
Okay, so what is the process of what does blending actually do in like internally in Tableau, what it is doing?
It actually it writes SQL code behind
Hmm.
the process, and it converts into a table into a specific format, and both tables are joined later.
Good, good, good. All right. Okay, let's talk about filtering. So, do you know what is a context filters? What are context filters?
Yes, ma'am. When we use multiple filters, Tableau doesn't work. So at the time we have to use add to context to make the second or third filter to work.
Okay, so for
Second filter.
example, let's say let's take a scenario. I've got a data for countries, and within the countries, I have a data for states, right? So I
Yes.
have data for countries, states, and their sales, right? So if
Okay.
I want to create a view where I want to find the top 5 states for each country, and I give the control to the user through the filters to pick one country at a time. So let's say if I pick
Okay.
USA, I should get the top 5 states for USA in terms of sales. So can you tell me the
Okay.
process?
At first, we have to create a parameter, ma'am. With
We
the
can
help
use
of
filters.
parameter.
Let's say we are creating filters. Filters, we can put
Okay.
countries in filters, and the
Okay.
person is picking filters,
We,
country from filter.
in, in the filters, we can create by top and there is a tab like top parameters, top tab. In the tab, we can mention how many number of fields we want to display. So in that
Okay.
thing, we can make it as 5, and we can
Mhm.
select the city and the thing, and then we can make it the user make it visible to the user.
Okay, so now, like in this scenario, we have used 2 filters, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
One I've used in country, and one you said we will put it on the state, and we'll use the tab of top and put the top 5 over there.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Now there are 2 filters. On which field will you put a context filter?
Mm.
Like which
In
one
the
will be add to context?
other one, then the top, we couldn't, we should not use on the top one. Other one, the country.
So there are 2 filters. Okay. There is a country filter and there is a state filter
In the country filter, in the country filter.
in the country filter. Okay. Good. Um, you also spoke about a while back when we were talking about clustering, you were talking about correlations, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
what kind of charts do you typically use for correlations?
For correlation, it's a scatter chart. We
You
always
need
use scatter
scatter
chart.
charts. And to create a scatter charts, how many measures, minimum measures do we require?
Minimum 2 measures and 1 dimensions.
Okay. All right. And let's say if you have data for different months. Let's say I have sales data, and each sales data is recorded on different months. Like January has one sheet, Feb has one sheet, March has one sheet. Like this, I've got January to December, all the sheets with the data. Now I want to do analysis of my, whatever measures that are there. I want to do analysis on a yearly basis.
Okay.
Okay, but my data is segregated into 12 different sheets. So how will I do my yearly analysis?
I think the union would be the better option for this process now. I
Good.
haven't tried this exact scenario, but I think up to with my knowledge and experience, I think union would be perfectly suitable for this.
Right. You have to combine all the data set one on top of
Yes,
other. So get it in one
yes,
table and then we can do it. Correct, correct. Okay. Let's say if I have in one of the columns, I have the customer's name. Okay, one of my columns is customer name, where I have the customer first name, I've got its middle name, and I've got the last name of the customer. Now, my intention is that I would want to find out the first name of the customers, because let's say I'm in a business where we do customized gifting. So, few of the gifts I want to already pre-create to the typical name of the people who come and buy at the store. Okay, so for that purpose, what I need to know is the uh, occurrence of each first name, the number of
Okay.
each first name, right? So I'll repeat my question. My question is that I have a column in which I've got the customer's first name, middle name, last name in one single column. My intention is that I want to find out, let's say, a Google. Okay, how many Googles am I, buying from me? I want to understand what are the common names of my customers, so that I can pre-create some gifts and keep it. So how would you do it?
For the thing, we have to separate the first name from the other name. We have to
Okay.
use a custom split in the data source sheet,
Okay.
data source place.
All
There
right.
we can specify the delimiter where we have to separate, and how much in the first attempt or the second attempt we can choose.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, if we choose one first attempt and a delimiter as if they are having a space between their names, space,
Mm-hmm.
we can separate into a single column. We can
Okay.
get only the single first name.
Okay. So you've done one step of it, that you've got the first names out of the
Yes, ma'am.
entire name. My correct thing was first name. Now, how will you do the second part to it, where I want to understand how many of each are there?
And then we can convert this field into, we can use it as a dimension, and we can
Mm-hmm.
use the count option to aggregate function to find the
Absolutely.
number of users.
Correct. Okay. Tell me about table calculations. Have you heard about table calculations?
Yes, one. I used most in the analytical parts.
Okay.
It's
Tell me what are
similar
table
to the
calculations.
It's similar to show as value in Excel, because we can get all the similar features like percentage, total percentage, and calculations like subtotals and something like that. We can get a series of calculation parts using that table calculation.
So what is the difference between table calculation and a calculated field? Like, how would I differentiate when should I use a calculated field? There's a calculated field also in Tableau. So what is the difference between the two?
Calculated field is created by ourselves based on a certain condition, one
Okay.
calculated field, but the table calculation is performed on the uh, dimensions and the measures which we use it to create a value. We have, for an example, in a view we are getting a company's name and their sales.
Mm-hmm.
There we want to show the user or our manager that what is the distribution of growth or sales in the particular company. At the time
Mm-hmm.
we can convert it into a total percentage of sales occupied
So
by
this
each
is what?
company.
Table calculation?
Yes, ma'am, this is what they will calculate.
Okay. Now let me give you another scenario. Let's say we have various products that are manufactured in the company, and we have recorded year-wise sales of it. Okay, so I have products, let's say 200 products, and I've got 5 years data. I've got the sales value of those products. Now I want to understand how much growth has been there for each product over a period of time.
Okay.
How would I find that out?
We can use the line graph to
I want the
uh,
values. I'm more interested in what was the change. For example, if it was like say 200,000 in year 2017, in 2018 it was, let's say, 250,000. So what was the change, or what was the increase?
we can use it by we can create a filter also, ma'am, by for shifting from particular year to year, or by we can create a parameters like from start date to end date. We can divide those data and we
No,
can
no, no, no. I'll
monitor for
repeat.
particular.
I'll repeat.
Okay.
What I'm looking for is, um, imagine a matrix.
Okay.
Okay. One column, the rows that you have consist of the product names.
Okay.
right? In the columns, I've got the years,
Okay.
right? 17, 18, 19, 20. Now I want to understand from 17 to 18, what was the percentage increase or decrease in the sales value
Okay.
of that product.
Okay.
So I don't
For
want
that
any
we can use
filters.
a okay. For that we can use quick table calculation, and we can select an option from previous thing. We can subtract from.
Correct.
We
So
find
that's
the
year on year
difference.
growth. Correct,
Yes, ma'am.
correct.
We can find the difference.
So basically in it is going to be in table calculation year on year growth.
Yes.
All right. What kind of projects have you done, Google, on Tableau? Can you give me a
In
few?
Tableau, yes, ma'am, sure. We have done. I have done multiple projects on Airbnb and
Okay.
we wash, you sleep, and airplane maintenance case study. And I have
Okay.
worked on some other minor projects, ma'am.
Minor
Minor
projects.
case
Okay.
studies and projects.
Okay. That's great. Any challenges that you faced while working on the data sets, like any challenges in Tableau that you faced?
No, I'm not sure whether I can say this or not. I got too comfortable with the Tableau tool, and it was automatically I got a flow with that. So I didn't face any much trouble with the Tableau part. And while creating a visually appealing and visually attractive display was the major trouble I got, I think. So even though I created a view with a fascinating color and fonts or something like that, I couldn't get the full satisfaction from those views. So I'm still trying to get a, classic view, something like that.
All right, great. One last question, Gogul. That is,
Okay,
let's say if I hire you as a consultant for my company, okay,
okay.
and I give you my data set and say, okay, Google, you know Tableau, okay, why can you create a dashboard for me? So how would you proceed on doing this work?
At first, I'll I'll ask you some questions like for what purpose we are doing this,
Okay.
what we are trying to achieve,
Mm-hmm.
and what are the fields and what they represent, and what is the objectives we are trying to get. Like that I used to get some data from you, and then
Okay.
with those data I used to create the objectives, and based on those objectives I try to perform the visualization part,
Very nice. Very nice.
because without
Good, good, good. All right. Thank you, Google. Thank you for your time. It was a
thank,
pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
thank you,
Take
thanks
care.
for your time.
Bye-bye.
Sure.